Hey, true believers. Chris Mack coming at you with New Mutants number 29. And this book was awesome. The print date for this was March 1985. Well, that was the release date, even though it says July up here in the trade dressing. This arc, I guess you could say, comes on the tail end of the Legion's introduction, where we first learn about David Haller and how he's, trying to bring all his personalities to a cohesive whole, and how he brings the whole New Mutants and Xavier into his mind, and Xavier finds out that this is his son, etc., so forth. So after that, we get flung into this really crazy stuff that's happening back on Earth. This, from what I understand, ran congruently along the Secret Wars 2 event. And for me, Secret Wars, let me know what you guys think, but for me, Secret Wars didn't hold anything super memorable other than the Spider-Man symbiote coming to Earth, Venom, essentially. But if y'all think about it and you think about Secret Wars, there's not a whole lot of memorable moments with the Beyonder, etc., so forth. I may be wrong. I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments. So with that said, this is called Meanwhile, Back at the Mansion. This is Chris Claremont, writer, Bill Sienkiewicz, artist, Tom Orzanowski, and Rosen doing the letters, Glynis Oliver, colorist, Ann Nasanti, editor, Jim Shooter, editor-in-chief. All-star flipping cast here, guys. And again, like I was talking about with the Batman Year 2 event, I like how it just kind of starts white page, and it's talking about the storm coming in, really sets the stage. And, the way, I loved Bob McLeod's artwork on the beginning of New Mutants. But for me personally, when Sienkiewicz came on and kind of added that surreal, twisted nightmare look to the book, it just added another layer, and it really kind of, for me, gave the book a more, I guess, for a lack of a better word, mature feeling. Like, the New Mutants obviously were Xavier's way of dealing with when he thought the X-Men were dead. So instead of starting another X-Men, he actually just brought mutants to train. But because it's the life of all people involved with the X-Men, it can never be simple. Ask Alex and Polaris. So with that said, Amara, who is Magma, and Sunspot have been kidnapped. Sam and Ileana are hot on their trail. Now, with Claremont, he has always had a good way of segueing, focusing on the main story, and then he'll say, meanwhile, or, weeks later somewhere else. I went back to the previous issue, and I couldn't find anything on Amara and Robert being kidnapped. So if you guys know if there's an issue somewhere that I'm missing, let me know. Because the last 3 issues that I've read focused primarily on David Haller, and then they had a segue moments with Magneto and what's her name, the Captain Forrester, and their relationship kind of budding. So anyway, I love how this opens up. See Sam busting through into this airport terminal trying to catch these people that have kidnapped his teammates, and they were allegedly at a school swimming party or something, or that's what they were led to believe. So freezing degree weather, and Sam just takes off in their bathing suits, not really thinking it through. And I think that's what I really enjoy about these early New Mutant books, is if you go back and you read X-Force, you start to see how Sam grows, matures, and is actually able to lead X-Force, and Cable stayed when he's gone. Here, he stops, he goes, my feet, shoot, where'd I leave my brains this morning? In bed? I'm running on snow and ice with no shoes, no clothes, and I'm freezing. I'm invulnerable when I blast. I don't feel no cold or heat. And he's like, I never thought to change when I saw the Crooks take my friends. So here you see the immaturity. Even though he is the co-leader of the New Mutants along with Danny Moonstar, he has not really started to think things through, because they're really young adults at this point in the story. Sam again tries to blast up to the airplane that has taken his friends, and he's never blasted that high before. So remember, as the higher up in the stratosphere you go, the thinner the oxygen gets. And so he's starting to fall. He's like, too hard to think, can't reignite it to another fire. At least Professor Xavier ain't here to see me screw up. I wonder what he'll tell Mama. But before he can die, Ileana teleports him to Limbo. And here they got the driver of the car. And he's like, you guys can't make me talk. You're just a bunch of little pipsqueaks. Now here I love how the tone of Ileana changes. Because remember, she's the Dark Child. And without Sienkiewicz's artwork, I don't think Claremont's words would have hit as hard as they do. I strongly suggest you cooperate. To coin a phrase, we really do have ways of making you talk. Enter Sim. Now remember, Sim is like the right hand of Belasco. And because Ileana usurped Belasco and now she's the ruler of Hell, Sim does what she wants. So he can't really screw with people like the way that he really messed up Madeline Pryor. So the driver's like, yeah, I'll talk. And what's great is even though we see Ileana here using her powers for good in a very screwed up situation, she says, well, I'll teleport us to where our hero, our friends are supposed to be. But there's something that she does that screws it up. I don't want to go completely into it. But again, like Sam, she gets either overly too confident or doesn't think things through. And that's what I really like about the New Mutants is the teammates have been together for years at this point. They've been through death, tragedy, and so Cyclops, even though he makes mistakes, he's more prone to listen and be susceptible to suggestion. Same thing with Logan, Storm, but Ileana, Sam, Danny, they're too green at this point, and it just adds that nice layer of humanity to this book. So they end up in California. Sam says, well, guess what? I have someone here who can help us. And I need to find New Mutants, the annual #1, because apparently he's in a relationship with Leela Chaney. What is her name? Hold on. Leela, I always forget her last name. Chaney, there it is, which I think eventually her and Iceman have a relationship down the line in X Factor, I think. Let me know down in the comments. It's because X-Men lore does get a little hazy here after a while. But anyway, what makes this issue special for me particularly is this is the first appearance of Guido, strong guy. I didn't even know that. I opened this up and I was like, wait a minute. And I looked up on the X-Men Wikipedia and went, oh crap, this is his first appearance. And compared to how we know Guido, it's just odd how Sienkiewicz draws him very awkwardly, very tiny legs, which he's always kind of had skinny legs, but they're a lot more beefier when we get into the what's the artist's name that worked with Peter David in X-Force? I see his name, but I can't pronounce it. Well, it is what it is. You guys know what I'm talking about. And the reason they decide to go to Leela's is, she's in the rock and roll business. And then we come to find out that Dazzler's working, playing for her. And so with all their connections, they can hopefully find these people called the Gladiators. That's who Bobby and Amara are captured by. And once again, look at the way Sienkiewicz does the artwork here. The very noir gel bars, silhouettes, shading. It just adds this dread to the book. And again, like I said, if it wasn't for his work, I don't think Claremont's words would, again, hit as hard. Amara's talking about if we don't fight the runner of this Gladiators is going to kill children and make them fight. The runner of it, his name is Alexander Flynn. I didn't know who that was. I had to look it up. Apparently this is the bastard son of Victor Von Doom, who wants nothing to do with him and has exiled him from Latavia. And he uses the Gladiators as a way to try to train them up so that he can eventually usurp his father. So that's something I learned today. And it kind of reminds me of that guy on TikTok where it's like, here's something I didn't know until I was in my 30s, and there's a fun little thing. Anyway, here Dazzler talks about how once she was outed out as a mutant, she couldn't get work, and that's why she has to kind of dress up and disguise herself when she's with Leela. But before that, she was susceptible to anybody that would give her attention, so she joined the Gladiators, and she actually says that she misses being a gladiator because of nobody judging her. She was the center of attention. And so you notice that Dazzler, there's something up with her in that regard. And then we go back to Lee Forrester, and Magneto, who are on this island. They're both recuperating, which I don't know what happened. I need to go back and read some more of the older New Mutants, which the earlier issues, each time I go to comic shops, they're getting harder and harder to find. But what happens is, psychically, Xavier reaches out to them and talk about how they're stuck on Battle World. He needs Magneto to take charge of his students and anybody that will listen to him so that they can be prepared for what the Beyonder has planned. Now, another thing that's really interesting about this story is I've read a few issues after this. There's a particular person who runs this gladiator arena. Like, as we were just talking about, Doom's son, Alexander, runs the whole outfit, but this particular place, there's someone who's constantly put in silhouette. And you're thinking, oh boy, what's going to happen? And this leads up to another arc that's very heartbreaking, which we will eventually go over. And the battle scenes are just absolutely fantastic. And we see some things that happen with Dazzler, and then at the end, Magneto tracks down this gladiator dungeon, and an ultimatum is made. And it's actually interesting, the choices of what each character makes. But overall, just beautiful artwork, great story. I was not bored at all reading this. And then just to know that this particular issue is the first appearance of Strong Guy, I'm like, hell yeah, I'm glad to have this in my collection. So if you guys have enjoyed what you've seen, which this was absolutely spectacular, please first and foremost support your local comic shop and pick up a copy if you've enjoyed this review. We really would appreciate it if you take a moment to hit like, share, and subscribe. Helps the club channel more than you can possibly know. And if you wouldn't mind hitting that fancy little X bell next to subscribe. See, I can talk. We really would appreciate it. That way you guys will get notified. Come to the channel, and we love talking with you and hearing your thoughts and feedback down in the comments below, or social media pages, which I'll make sure to leave the links down in the description. So with all that said, thank you so much for stopping by. Hope you all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, true believers.